Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. This is part 2 of Can Tinnitus Be Cured? Let me just try and go back to the text. I was interrupted before, so I'm just making this into a two-part video. So, this is how I see it. You basically need to regenerate faster. And I'm a bit of I wouldn't say an expert in it, but I've had access to some certain people in life that has made this a lot easier for me. Job-wise, I've also been in situations where I got in contact with some really good professional people, letting me in on some of their secrets to why they were in such good shape. These are athletes, health professionals, people like that. And so generally you need to sleep like 7 to 9 hours to be able to regenerate faster and more efficient. And I think that this is like, together with sleep, primarily only drinking water. I know it's probably the most horrible thing I could say to a lot of people, but they probably would really, really hate me for this. But only drinking water. I know that you have to think of water as a thing that cleans your blood. And water can actually taste very different from place to place. I believe that there are probably like 5-10 very different tastes of water, depending on how hard it is, the minerals, all kinds of stuff that's in it. I really don't like drinking water from regular people's places in the city. I can fully understand why they can't get themselves to do that. That is absolutely horrible. The normal water that you get in the city, having to pay for water, like $2-3 for like a half a liter of water in the city, is also insanity. But at least if you're in a lucky situation where you can get some water that tastes, decent and okay, don't spike it. Don't put these kiddie juices into it, That's also a thing that really traps a lot of people when they constantly drink this kiddie stuff, or they do some tea or some coffee or some energy drink or some other justification. Having only water is a blessing that a lot of people don't realize. When you're only drinking water, what will happen is that your mindset will change. Your taste palette will widen. Everything that you taste, everything that you drink from that moment on will be more potent. You are basically cleaning your body and regenerating a lot faster. This is the one advantage that a lot of people aren't using. Think about it. There are people that live in Ethiopia. They have to walk 20 kilometers just to get their baby checked if they have an eye infection. They don't have access to water. We take that for granted. We take for granted the 25 degrees heat we can generate in our rooms, in our house. We take for granted that we have a soft bed and a lot of other stuff. Water is also one of the things that we take for granted. We can just go to the kitchen a couple of meters and then turn that on. A lot of people in the world cannot get access to clean water, especially countries like India, where cola is almost cheaper than water. And it's a trap. If you can buy soda cheaper than clean water, it's a trap. Most people will take the soda because it makes them feel better in the now, but it's a trap, because when you drink soda, or bad quality juice or alcohol or stuff like that's fine when you do that once in a while. But if it's a chronic drink, if you have chronically 2 to 5 cups of coffee every day, you're gonna get brain fog. Your digestive system, everything in you will stall. You'll feel horrible. It affects your indirectly, it also affects your vision, your hearing, everything else. You have to learn, if you want to solve these types of problems in your life, to let your body generate everything that you need. Not everything, but almost everything that you need. If it can generate its own heat, if it can clean itself without you using a hell of a lot of additives here and there. I also personally try to avoid vitamin pills, because that is also to a small degree not very healthy. But at least when I have vitamin pills, I make sure that I use it to 110% of what my body can handle, meaning that I have it at the right time of day. I eat it in the middle of the meal. I have it together with my salad. I have it together with other stuff, and then later on I can cheat a bit. I can have like a candy bar or whatever, but I have that candy bar at the right time of day, and isolate all of these meals from each other, giving enough time between them so I can detox. That is how you become an efficient person. Is it easy? No. Life wants to screw with you. Life wants to kick you when you're down. When you go to work, they want to be nice towards their colleagues. So what will they do? They constantly give you free cake, free cookie, free stuff like that. And we all take it, I remember working at a company, and there was like ad libitum soda. You could just basically drink 2 liters of soda if you wanted to every day. Just go over there and have like 5 different flavors of soda, and it was nice. It was really nice. But I think a couple of years later, I had to pay like, I think $3,000 just to get my teeth fixed because of that. So there are lots of lots of problems you have to deal with later because of small things like that. So don't take the bait. Do the thing that seems hardest. Get proper water, not the regular stuff. Get a proper filter. The filter that you most likely have on your tap is most likely going to taint the water that's coming out of it. Not only is it going to change the taste of it, it's going to change how healthy it is. That stuff needs to be cleaned once every 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th month at least. Everybody basically just does it after a couple of years. That is screwing around with your health, and that's also, again, making you biased towards stuff like juice, coffee, tea, stuff like that. Yeah, tea is one of the lesser bad stuffs in our lives, but again, tea has so many things in it that is a dopamine rusher. It keeps your dopamine at a very high level. If you have chronically water that is just decent, you will slowly get to appreciate food that you normally can't appreciate. You will put less sugar on food. You will put less salt, spices, stuff like that. You'll eat less. It's one of the most fantastic high level hacks that you can do to your body, to your mind, to your hearing, actually also to your vision. This is one of the root causes of all the bad stuff that is going on in the world. Lack of clean water. There are there's a lot of crime going on in this world. There are a lot of people that are bad off. There are a lot of people that can't get through their education. Water is one of the reasons why this happens. Now, I know a lot of people just tuning into this video, having cut it to this point, will probably go like, is this guy insane? No. Water is the thing that keeps your sanity intact, and we take it for granted. It's one of the most rich sources that will save us, but we have to go through the pain of giving up the good flavor stuff. Me especially, I used to be really, really, really bad at these things. I used to drink everything else than water and only have like a glass of water a day. Now I only drink water, and once a week I have half a bottle of beer that I share with my family, or a whole one once in a while. That is half a liter. When you see people, this is tradition. This is tradition in society. When you see people going into bars and they're drinking pints of beer, you're just thinking to yourself, what is society trying to do? Why is it so insane? We're talking about liters of beer. This shouldn't be the norm, that when you go out with your buddies, when you go out to enjoy yourself, when you go out in the city, in the town, that you just drink like a liter or two of beer, or maybe just even half. Half a liter of beer is pretty toxic for your body. You have to quickly get that out once that's gotten in. If you, on top of that, do not drink enough water, and you do not have the proper amount of vegetables, and you do not have it at a decent time of day, and you're out partying, and like most people, if you have tight clothes, again, tight clothes is also one of the reasons, I haven't written this on the list, one of the main reasons why people are feeling so much tension. Most of us in the world, we are wearing plastic socks that have an elastic band on it that tighten the circulation. We've got plastic, underwear with, these rubber bands here that, again, tighten. Women have got it in their bras, and all kinds of other clothes, tight trousers, tight shoes. A lot of people that are wearing really, really tight shoes, so they don't look ugly because they're very vain. Again, if you want an edge in life, you have to be a superhuman. You have to not follow the crowd. These are essential life hacks. What I'm sharing with you in this video is basically something that's going to prolong your life with at least a couple of years. And the most important thing is that it's not only going to prolong your life, it's going to make you enjoy life more. And all the stuff that you hated to do, you're more likely to turn that into an advantage, something that you can use in life that's positive. So if you live like a normal person and you smoke, you have a lot of alcohol, you're wearing tight clothes, you've got, you're overly medicated, stuff like that. I've done these things. Most people do these things in life. This is the authoritarian way of solving problems in life. Doing as the crowd, following what the doctor says and stuff like that. I'm not saying that you should, totally go past what doctor says. You have to, of course, consult with a doctor and do what professional says. But you have to know that if you do all of these things and you still go to the doctor will most likely give you hardcore medication to get over these things. The doctor won't check these very basic things that we all are doing to ourselves. That is like the invisible force of us kicking ourselves in the nuts constantly, not knowing that this is how we're constantly, this is the invisible enemy that is fighting against you, against me, against everybody else. We all struggle with this. I'm not saying that I'm a superior human that can do this and everybody's just inferior. These are things that we all have to tackle at some point in our lives. And I'm giving you the tools to do that. So this is about tinnitus, You can transfer this to basically any other part in life. Any mental, physical injury, problems with vision, tinnitus. We're going with tinnitus now, especially because of the whole tension part. But these are things that we need to do. These are things that gives us an edge and makes you, want to wake up and go to work and talk with people and, come back home and enjoy life. And instead of just buying a cheap plastic meal and just flushing that down while you're watching on TV, you just, go down with your family, You make a proper meal from the ground up. Use some proper ingredients. You use energy talking to people. And, in the end, when we do all of these things, when we don't take shortcuts, my God, is life just incredibly rewarding. And you develop a sort of admiration, true admiration. I'm not talking about false positivity that we all learn at work, I'm talking about you really get to enjoy your friends, your colleagues, your family. You become a better, improved version of yourself. So you don't have to do all of these things if you don't want to. I'm just giving you the tools if you want to use them. Do whatever you want to do. So yeah, I think that a lot of people need to do a detox. Not just talking about going in the sauna, but once in a while, I do suggest doing that. Go to a sauna, I'd say at least once or twice every month. It helps you so much mentally. It helps you sleep. It helps get rid of stress. There are so many toxins in our body that we regularly put in, not just medication, but stuff that's in our food that makes it last longer. There is a lot of shit you just have to kind of flush out, and this is one of the ways of doing it. And don't make a noob mistake like, for example, I did earlier, where you go into these normal saunas and they're like 80 to 100 degrees Celsius, That's just putting yourself through unnecessary pain. Go into like a kids sauna, and use those. 60-degree sauna is actually the best way to go, and then just use that for like 2 or 3 times longer period. That is a lot healthier than putting your body into like a 80 to 100 degree cooker, because that can also take it out of you mentally, so you can't do anything. So that's what I do. That's also why I built a sauna. It gives me in a way an edge. You can build your own sauna in your own house for only like $1,500-$2,000. You just have to buy the stuff used, and yeah, there's your sauna. You don't have to pay $5,000-$10,000 when you look at these catalogs. That's how you do it. That's how you become a strong person. And when you regularly go to a sauna, you can eat more bad stuff. I'm not suggesting that people do that, but stuff more quickly gets out of the body, so you can more easily do what you want to do in life. But yeah, a regular fasting period is also good. And I'm not suggesting that you do these modern fasting periods where it's like 24-60, 24-36 hours fasting period. That's just insane. I do a regular fasting period, but it's only like 4, 6, 8, 10 hours, stuff like that. That's fine. I think what's more important is that when you then start eating, that you don't overeat because you've just had a fast. Just when you're eating again, just eat a tiny bit less than you normally do, and there's your fast. You don't have to go into this ketosis regenerative state that they're talking about. I mean, you can do that once in a while, but know this: that's a pretty dangerous thing to do when you've got a job, when people depend on you. You have to do some hard labor work. You don't want to have to drive a car while going into this ketosis state that happens probably only after 24 hours or something like that. You don't want to put yourself and others through that. You need to be able to do something in a very safe way. So, and I also don't approve of these, these extreme people like Wim Hof, and jumping into ice cold water, and running a marathon in your bare feet and stuff like that. Yeah, what he says is to some degree true, and you can also do that, and it does build up your system, and it will also help with your tinnitus and your hearing in general, and eyesight and mental ability and all kinds of stuff like that. It will, but you have to do it on a proper level that isn't too punishing. And just like just a basic thing is that, you know, a lot of people are very afraid of sugars, and because of that, they totally deprave themselves of normal good fats and decent sugars, proteins and stuff like that. They end up eating these rice, bread, cookie things, and all kinds of alternative stuff, and that also can screw up your life if you totally deprave yourself and punish yourself in these ways that a lot of these green people are doing. You know, these tree hugging people. There's a balance in life, you know, and I think a lot of people are like in this state of consciousness where either they're like a full-blooded Democrat, or they're full-blooded nutty extreme Republican. You know, it feels like sometimes, you know, the guys in between that have the best of both worlds don't always seem to exist in this world. It's like someone had a huge win on doing something insane, and then they're just going to generalize it, saying that, yeah, you have to punish yourself, you have to have discipline, and they're hitting boards with their heads and doing all kinds of weird stuff. No, you have to do the stuff that's just regular, common knowledge that we've been telling ourselves the past, I don't know how many 100 years, that no one's really listening to because they're trying to do all the popular, fast, you know, working stuff that's based on science, you know. And it is just regular stuff like waking up in the morning and having a banana and with some avocado and some nuts that you make yourself, not the nuts in salt that's in a plastic container, you know, like real nuts that you crush yourself. That's a proper meal. You know, how many people do you see eating a proper meal in the morning, doing it that way? Almost no people, you know. I wish that I had this information that I'm giving you guys 20 years ago, when I was, you know, out of control, like a lot of people. You get out of control, you get all kinds of diseases, and life beats you in the face times 10 when you don't do these things. And yeah, take it if you want. I'm giving it as free advice. There's always someone that's going to hate on this video. You can't really protect yourself against this. So I'm just giving you guys the insights, hacks that the really good people that get ahead in life, that they have, you know. These are hacks from athletes, people that are doctors, that don't normally share this with their patients. Also, again, you know, I think a big part of the problem of going to doctors, I might have said that in the first video, I can't remember, but there's this bedside manner where you're not really allowed to argue with the patient. The patient is always right, and you gotta make the patient not suffer. You know, it's about doing what the patient wants, respecting their needs. But sometimes the patient doesn't know what's good for themselves. They're only going for the latest drug that's going to relieve them of their pain, but they don't really realize that they actually have to go through something that's in a short period going to be a lot more painful, just so they, on a longer period of time in their life, can go with a lot less pain. Easier said than done. I know I'm generalizing, but that's how I feel that it, you know, how life really is. I've tried myself having asthma. I've tried taking medication. You know what happened when I did that? I got worse. You fall into this hole where you depend on that thing that you have to blow into, so you get this powder stuff in your lungs so it alleviates the pain. It's the worst thing that I ever did in my life, taking that asthma medication. You know, as soon as you know what I did, how to overwin my asthma? I only drank water, and I reduced my sugar consumption with about a third. I got rid of about half of the spices. I could have gotten rid of more, a lot more. But I then started cleaning my shit together, literally. I started cleaning my room more, before I was only cleaning my room every couple of months. And there was a lot of dust particles in that room, and it was totally not contributing to the situation. Well, I got into better shape. That of course helps, but I basically I didn't add stuff to the problem and solve the problem like normal people would have, And I have a friend, I went to school with. He still takes his asthma medication, and he looks like shit, He might have an IQ of like 150, and he's got the girl, the car, he's got the fortune, the wealth, but he'll most likely be dead around 60 years old, like a lot of people that live that standard life where they do what's normally accepted in society, And sometimes you just have to think out of the box, You have to life hack things yourself. And of course, you do this with caution. You ask your doctor and all these professional people. And they, if you start asking these things to those people, they might even agree with you. But sometimes you just have to take the more difficult, hard approach. I mean, just imagine, do you really want to tell another person that they have to use 2-3 times more money on groceries, buying healthy stuff instead of buying the cheap stuff for like a third of the price? Do you really want to tell them that is going to solve their problems? A lot of people are not wanting to hear stuff like this, It actually takes a bit more money, a bit more time, you hitting that wall with your face a lot, begging someone to put you out, giving you a pill to take the pain away. Some people are going to be in that situation, and you of course have to take that decision for yourself. Are you going to continue doing this? It's tough, man. It's tough. You can't generalize, but I'm just putting the information out so you can do whatever you want to, and of course consult with a professional. So again, that also made it really a lot easier for me dealing with this thing. I've always had like an oversensitive hearing, and I'm one of those people that regularly needs a massage around the head and around the neck and shoulder area, because that really tenses up my whole ear area. It's different from person to person. It doesn't help when you had a person in your life that lifted you up with your head when you were younger. It doesn't help, but we are all in some kind of a pain, and I'm just giving you guys the tools to get around this. Now, a lot of people will probably use a couple of tens of thousands on going to a professional to do this. That's probably the best way to deal with it, but you can easily save that money and get someone in your family, your life partner, someone that This could be even your mom and dad. That might be very awkward. You have to kind of figure that out yourself, but this is something that can be awkward, but once you get over that hurdle, this can save you a lot of money, a lot of pain, and you are again dealing with something at the root that is so good. I went to a treatment. What was it called? Some kind of German treatment in Berlin. Yeah, Atlas treatment. I got that. That's, by the way, a really good treatment. I recommend. They give you some sophisticated, like a machinery thing that they put behind your skull, where they massage a certain thing, and then they put it in place so they adjust your spine around where it hits your head. That's the thing that I suggest a lot of people do. That's a really good investment. into your health, that's one of the things that is going to relieve you of a lot of pain going forward in life. I think a lot of people could benefit from that, especially people that have had some kind of an accident. And I think we've all been in some kind of an accident in life. I know I've been, when I was a small child, I think I probably fell down a couple of times, and was in a car accident when I was only a couple of years old. And these yanks to the head can inflict some nerve pain and stuff like that. And when you deal with stuff like this, again, you're solving a problem at a very, very deep part of yourself. And if you solve a problem like this could probably make a headache go away, or a chronic pain that you have, or some mental problem, or whatever. It could alleviate a bit of stress or whatever. It helped me a lot. So I think it's called Atlas Prophylux treatment, and I had it in Germany, somewhere in Berlin. And it doesn't cost too much, but it's basically a sophisticated form of massage where they do some kind of adjustment. It isn't like going to a chiropractor. I generally don't like chiropractors. I feel that they many times do a lot more harm, and it's too violent what a lot of them do. There might be some that do a good job, but I feel it's a bit of I feel it's a bit of a snake oil profession. But I think there are a lot of different people doing chiropractor work that are probably very different. So I can't generalize. So yeah, I apologize to those people that I have then offended. But again, I think it can be very difficult from person to person. But I've personally heard and experienced chiropractor, and didn't like it. And they didn't like it. A lot of those people didn't like it. But some people like it and think that's good. I don't feel that you have to use so much force and make those jerky movements. I don't like it. So, yeah, sauce, quitting the sauce. My God, is that... that's almost like a whole chapter in itself. Just not drinking, or just drinking very little. I mean, very difficult. A lot easier said than done. This is a bit like being a drug addict. Personally, myself, I have to have a drink at least every 2 weeks, a small drink. I'm not talking about something strong, but it just makes me generally feel a lot better. I have several times gone a couple of months without drinking, but it's like sugar, to some degree you kind of need it, but you can of course quit it, but it's very difficult. But again, I still think that some people should drink, just in very small amounts, very certain parts of the day. And if you can generally drink a lot of water, you would appreciate alcohol more, so you don't just gallop it down and have way too much. There's a thing that a lot of people aren't talking about in this world, and that is in regards to health. When you put something bad in your body, you can get away with that a lot easier if you don't let it have a yeasting type of effect. What I mean by that is you don't let that thing stay in your body for too long. What I mean is that you just drink more water. The more water you drink, the faster all of these bad things go out. And I want to say that stuff like licorice, salmiak, candy, these hard candies, Fisherman's Friend, really hard toffees. There are many different types of candies. They are really hard on the body. All of these powdering, Turkish, what's it called? Turkish Turkish gebolsha. What's it called? Turkish bonbons. These really, really hard candies. I generally suggest going away from that and going over to the softer candies. And when I say softer, I'm talking about stuff like German gummy bears. Germany has a tradition of making candy in a way that's very mild, very fruitish. And when you come to countries like, for example, Denmark or other countries, their style of making candy is very much the opposite, even though they're basically, right up at each other. It's a funny thing. You can get like a Haribo gummy bear package, and they have the Danish version, which is with chemicals, all kinds of weird bad stuff. It tastes bad, it tastes fake, and then you have the German ones, which are so much more lighter to eat. You don't gain weight as fast. It's more enjoyable. It's more like eating fruits, and it hasn't got stuff like gelatine in it, which is basically pig skin and stuff like that. But it has the natural fruit thing. What's it called when you boil it down? It has that instead. And a lot of people are just going to go, a lot of extreme people are just going to go like, oh, that's just sugar anyway. Not really. When you have that in a small form, it's actually one of the healthier pieces of candy. So, yeah, that's a good tip for you guys. Select candy that isn't so hard. There's a lot of hard candy out there. Try to get away from that. I'm talking about the hard, powdery, black stuff like licorice and salmiak and stuff like that. If you can get away with that, get away from that, and then get over to the softer ones. And then slowly with time, reduce that candy. Just reduce it slightly, like 1/10 every second month or so. You'll notice a huge difference, not only mentally, physically. You'll be able to focus more. You're more patient. You're more naturally outgoing. You're just less stressed, and you can like take more stupid jobs that you don't want to do. It just makes life a lot easier, and these are things that we don't really talk about in society, but these are life hacks coming from people that made it, that are successful, that somehow always seem to get an edge in life, get ahead, and many times they don't even know why they got ahead. Sometimes they're just lucky. Sometimes they just hit some magical combination. It's a bit like few people that have a HIFI system, and they just managed to hit some kind of combination that sounded good, even though they know shit about HIFI. So, yeah, that stuff does happen once in a while. I see it once in a while. Spices. Ooh, this is very unpopular. I think a lot of people are gonna hate me for this again. Spices, again, something that we don't talk about enough in society. Spices are really bad for us because they can, to some degree, in a short period, be healthy, but you have to be careful. Spices is often used because of the lack of good food that we have. I remember several times going to work thinking, what the hell is it that I'm eating, because it was so bad, the quality. You had to overspice it with salt, pepper, use all kinds of sauces that have a lot of garlic in them, and garlic's not so bad, vinegar and all kinds of chili, jalapenos type of stuff. If you're a guy that really likes his spicy stuff, that can be a problem. It's a culture now. It's a culture where we pretend we are men and we're tough. And just because we can eat a chili that's, an 8 out of 10 in spiciness, then we're men. then we've proven ourselves, but it's actually the opposite. Spicy stuff is not healthy, and there's a reason why it boosts your metabolism. That's a small part of the truth. That's actually your body trying to defend itself against a poison. So spices is basically a mild form of poison that you can say re-stimulates your brain, thinking that it wants more. It's basically a booster, a filler, a thing that compensates for something not being good. And we use it a lot in society, because when we do, then we can get away with putting stuff in the food that isn't nearly as high quality. Then we can begin to make more money. Then we can open a restaurant selling stuff that really isn't that good. This is one of the main problems, I think, with society. When you see a lot of people that get into heavy criminality, that have serious problems, look for spices, look for heavy drinking, look for people who are sleep deprived, who don't get enough oxygen, who wear tanner sprays and stuff like that. If you're one of those people that are wearing tanner sprays, that's something that stops your brain from actually receiving enough oxygen. And that could seriously delude you, thinking that you know what's going on around you, even though you don't know. And there's a special person who's thankfully not president anymore, who used to wear a lot of tanner. And it's one of those things that we constantly in life think about. Ooh, he's a narcissist, that's a narcissist. Yeah, but we never think about what really causes a narcissist to exist. What's the DNA of a narcissist? And I tell you, it's having a huge amount of spices, huge amount of alcohol, oxygen deprivation, and a lot of other stuff like that. Not sleeping enough, having a lot of stress. And then again, like I said with my other video, if you're being validated for being a bad person and you get away with it, that will give you a short-term success that can drive you insane and never truly connect yourself with your true kind human nature. So that's basically how a narcissist is created. Are there other factors? Yeah. Bad parents, bad environments, people that are nasty to you, you being unlucky, other types of mental illness. You could have something born to you. You could have had brain surgery, or you could have had shock therapy, or whatever. There's like a list of 50 things you probably could put down, but these are one of the reasons why I see like this new I wouldn't say breed of people existing in the world, but when you look at people that are extreme MAGA supporters, Alex Jones supporters, Dan Pena supporters, stuff like that, or even the opposite, these ultra social democratic insane people that want us all to hold hands and look over each other, Big Brother and stuff like that. It's the same thing, just opposite religion. It's a thing to look out for. Yeah, avoid sugar in big amounts. Duh. Easier said than done. I'm like one of the worst examples of that. I could, I should take this out of. That's like the biggest improvement that I could make if I could completely get rid of this. It's a thing that tricks us all. I know I'm a lot worse than all of the people around me in this regard. This is basically like being you're basically indirectly some kind of an alcoholic when you have a huge amount of sugar, especially if it's the bad sugar. I'm not a good example in this department, but at least I admit that to myself. So yeah, I should be better at that. yeah, and I will only have myself to blame for that. So yeah. And one of the lies that we keep telling ourselves, this is the world of products that needs to be sold and shoved down people's throats. Coffee. We like to tell ourselves that coffee has a lot of antioxidants. It's so good for us. It doesn't make us tired. It makes us productive. You can study a lot better with coffee. You can deal with your child a lot better in the when he wakes up. You just use coffee to keep awake. If your child is what's it called, crying, you have to get up in the night and stuff like that. And you get into some really bad habits if you start using coffee, because coffee is a neural suppressant, meaning that it doesn't give you energy. It suppresses your way of feeling that you're tired. It's basically a drug, okay? So, and it's mainly because of the caffeine. If you can go caffeine free, fine, but it might not taste as good. That's what I've heard from a lot of coffee drinkers. But, I wouldn't say to people completely get rid of coffee. If you enjoy coffee, really enjoy coffee, go all in. What I mean by that is make your own coffee. Make it high quality, make it at home, have a very small amount of it, deprave yourself of coffee at work. So when you come home, then you can have your coffee routine, you can grind your own beans, you can have your own special machine, you can have perhaps 1 cup of coffee a day, maybe 1. I would not suggest having 2, 3 or more. That is not healthy, but maybe have 1. Because if you're enjoying it at that level, and you're at that level not having a lot of sugars, you're not having a lot of alcohol and stuff like that, we all have to have some kind of thing that isn't good in life. My problem is sugar. Some other people's problem is alcohol. Others could be coffee. Make coffee a ritual, and don't be ashamed drinking coffee. Have it as a reward for example, doing some work. But I would suggest not using it as a cheap way of you getting through work, going through 1, 2, 3 cups of coffee a day on a regular basis at work, and then having it at home. I once saw some student workers at work drinking, I think it was 6 to 10 cups of coffee in one shift, because they're very tired and worn down from all their studies, and they then had to work next to me. And man, you're really opening up yourself from some bad stuff happening when you get into that zone. So enjoy coffee. Have it in your own special way, where you turn it into some kind of a game. You buy a special machine, you have your ritual, and I get that. I completely respect that. If you have coffee in a high quality way, respect to you for doing that. That's your thing. I know it isn't fun taking that away. If you can reduce it and only keep it high quality, you're making it more healthy for yourself. So that's my tip. And again, a lot of those people at work that drink a lot of coffee, they're not there. They're really not there. Their body is physically up. They're on the surface smiling. Everything seems okay, but they're not really there. They don't really understand what's going on around them. They've got this like hyper mode that they're in constantly, but there isn't really anyone behind the steering wheel. So I wouldn't suggest doing this on a regular basis. And I see a lot of people at work using coffee or some stimulant, caffeine stimulant, just before they go down to the basement and they do their exercising. You don't want caffeine in your blood before you're lifting a lot of weights and doing cardio work. That's not a good combination. If you can't get yourself to do exercise having caffeine in your blood, don't do exercise. It's as simple as that. You have to get your energy somehow, perhaps from just drinking water, then it will come to you naturally after a long while. Do it that way. It's not fun having caffeine in your blood for long sustained periods. It's also going to mess around with your sleep. That's like one of the main reasons for why not having coffee. Another thing that's unpopular. Yeah, you need some kind of a job/hobby in your life, and you need some kind of a success. Yeah, this is tough. You need to kind of know where you're going in life, education-wise, safety-wise. You need some kind of thing like that. If you don't have that, you could have an unusual amount of stress. I've been in this zone. I'm talking from personal experience. I'm talking from having talked with a lot of people. Easier said than done, yeah, but you need some kind of certainty, and sometimes you need to take some stupid education just to get a bit of certainty. But yeah, also remember that when you live in a very comfortable home with a soft bed, and you're constantly surrounded in this around 25-degree temperature in the room, it turns us into pathetic human beings that wallow in our own pity, and it makes us hate everybody, and it just destroys us having this level of comfort, being able to do almost everything that you can do over remote. Harsh. It's harsh to say, but sometimes we're better off being handicapped, because sometimes that puts us into a situation where we have to do something that we normally wouldn't do. Sounds hard to say that, but sometimes being handicapped is actually a blessing, but we just can't see it being in that current state. Tough to say to people, just try and imagine the doctors telling their patients these things. They'll be fired within a couple of months, because patients don't want to come to someone that's giving them the real solutions. They want the way out, getting rid of the pain, hearing how they're a victim and stuff like that. And we are all in some kind of way a victim, but being too comfortable, that can actually ruin us. I know that personally. If my parents hadn't forced me to do a lot of physical work outside in the garden, I would be a pathetic modern day sorry excuse for a human being, living in the city, buying my plastic clothes, having plastic friends, driving my plastic cars and stuff like that. I'd have allergies and shit like that, and everything would be a problem. I'll probably have like 10 different nasal sprays for all kinds of situations. This is what happens when we get too comfortable. Of course, there's a bigger truth to it. It's all kind of a big puzzle type of thing. So it isn't like oh, this thing equals that thing, and then I've solved everything. It's a big part of the puzzle. Nobody likes to hear it. Your doctor's never going to tell you this, but be happy that you've got someone like me telling you this. I had to kick my ass several times and be forced to do stuff in order to really gain like a bigger awareness of how pathetic a person I was at that time. I'm no way perfect now, but you get a true richness in life from being what you many times in the start consider to be a poor person. So what I mean is that for you to truly be rich inside of yourself, inside of your soul, inside of you as a person, you many times have to do stuff that just seems completely illogical, doesn't make sense in the present. But that's because you haven't moved out of that reality. You haven't become what is the better version of you, which is on the other side of that wall, if that makes any sense. So, like I said, I don't believe in this new culture of people like going from this extreme pitiful state until this what I would call also a pitiful state, where you're running marathons on ice bare feet, and you're like going oh like Tarzan, and just jumping into situations and your heart's beating really fast and stuff like that. That's probably a small part of being a proper person, doing this to some small degree. But I think that, we have to do this in a very balanced, gradual way over a long period of time, and building up a support system for this to slowly happen, if at all happen, to some degree. So that's how I see it. And again, I think we live in an age of huge misinformation, where they're just constantly people trying to sell us this and that product, and they will constantly tell you stuff in connection with ketosis, keto diet, whatever, this and that thing, to promote their next book or whatever. And they'll tell you stuff like, sugar is really bad, we shouldn't have sugar, we should totally get rid of that, and then we should only have protein in this amount, and then we should use this and that formula, and yada 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 yada. And stuff like nuts is a bad thing, and tomatoes gives us cancers because it's in this group. And these people are just insane, because they're only partly right. And that's it's a real dangerous thing when you start listening to people where they're using information that is constantly partly right to promote an overall picture that is mostly wrong. So a lot of the people that I've been working with, especially the younger generation, they're really they're really afraid of touching anything that's sugar, and fruit, and like, wouldn't touch fruit, because that's just sugar, They and to some degree they're right, If you have fruit at the wrong time of day, mixed with the wrong meal, so if it's very late and you at the same time have a type of fruit that is a very low quality, and you then at the same time have it in a condensed form without its fiber, I'm talking about unnatural juices, and it's just not only the fact that it's unnatural. If you heat treat most juices that are bought in the stores, most juices in the stores are heat treated. When you heat treat them and then have them in a plastic container, which again messes with your system in many different ways, and then in order to keep the product, you have to put stuff in it that dilutes the nutritional value of it, so it can have more taste, so it can boost the flavor. These are things that are really bad, and you can't just substitute them with natural sweeteners. Sweeteners are a trap. They will solve the problem here and now, but create a much bigger problem overall. And they'll also do many things that are really bad to your system, but you'll never really be able to see it from outside of you, to notice what it's doing to you. So all kinds of sweetness, aspartame, all this stuff that's in sodas, in even juice. They're selling juice, stuff like I don't know, Sunlight, other products like that. It's just basically taste enhancer, a bit of coloring. Then we've got some sweetener that we can't identify. It's hidden underneath something. And you also have to know that when you're buying juice drinks, according to the law, you can disguise a lot of the sugar that's in it if you have it in a certain fruit category, meaning that when you look at the back side of it, you can't see fully how many calories in it and all of that. But I don't want to jump on that bandwagon and be one of those modern peoples that looks into isolated pieces of data that says, calories and sugars and stuff like that, because it's actually a lot more complex than that. You basically just, if you want fruit, you need to pay for generally the most expensive fruit there is, getting a high quality of it, getting it in an ecological, responsible way. Not always from the supermarket. Sometimes you have to get it locally, which is a lot better and a lot more expensive. And then you have to, eat it at the right time of the day and only have a small amount of it. And if you let that replace the normal candy that you have, then it's actually very healthy for you. But if you start mixing it with store-bought candy and you have it at the wrong time of day and you eat too much and all kinds of things, again, you can make a good thing turn into a bad thing. So that's what I'm about. I'm about the full truth that nobody really talks about, that nobody really wants to sell you because they need to depend on you buying a product, keeping you in a certain state. We have to be honest with ourselves. A huge part of society is built in this way to keep us trapped in a certain condition, where we'll get small parts of truth, we'll get small successes, but we won't get the entire thing, because that will stop certain jobs from existing, certain companies from existing. So it's very conspiratorial, and I don't want to have a channel that's conspiratorial, promoting stuff like that. But it's overall, I say it in the spirit of survival for the human race, not in the spirit of contaminating, creating false information, propaganda news and stuff like that. And I'm not here to create a David Icke channel or an Alex Jones channel or anything that's very controversial. I'm here to just let you know that there are functions like that exists, and you shouldn't feel too overwhelmed and that you can't do anything about it. There is sometimes a reason for why you can't solve a problem. How do I spell alcohol? I think that's right. Yeah, and again, small things like, this is a video about preventing tinnitus. I deliberately, when I went over to this new diet, this new way of living, I noticed more and more that I was listening to music that was a bit too loud. When you have a lot of bad stuff happening in you, a lot of bad diet and stuff like that, you become numb, you lose contact to what's reality. You have to listen to stuff that may be a bit too loud, a bit too harsh, a bit too this or that. It changes you. It changes you as a person. And I noticed this because I'm speaking from my own experience, judging myself, not others. I noticed that the more alcohol I had in my system, the more sugar I had in my system, the more spicy things I had in my system, the more numb I was as a person, the more medication I needed, the more I was deluding myself with all kinds of weird thoughts and alternative hippie ways of doing stuff, or even the entire opposite. I even some few times started thinking a bit like David Icke and Alex Jones in some small regard, And I'm glad I don't do this anymore. I'm glad I'm not deluding myself by numbing myself, taking the easy way out, because it made me not fully enjoy music. So I had to punish my body, punish myself for getting through life. I was at a time a guy who listened to a very loud, noisy type of music where we really had to feel it. We had this visceral feeling in your body that you were being punished and almost raped by the music, and that's what you get when you get into the zone of a lot of sugar, a lot of alcohol, not sleeping enough, doing all these sorts of things. When I was on medication and stuff like that back in the time, it happens to us all. And also in connection with when I lifted a lot of heavy weights, that can also affect you a lot mentally. I realized personally that these very fast shock movements to the body, especially core movements, had a huge effect on my ears. And when they pull on your ears, they affect your hearing, give you perhaps a tiny bit of tinnitus or restricted hearing, and it affects you mentally. When you have constant pain and you're numb and you've got tension around your core, your upper body, you're basically in a half animal. Really, you are like half an animal. And when you look at people that on TV seem to be, like, wow, he's a big bodybuilder, he won this many Olympian titles and so on, those people aren't healthy. Okay, those are people that are most likely going to die at around age 40, 50, 60. And if they're lucky, if they get success, they might make it to Arnold's age, having some bypass surgeries a couple of times. But those aren't healthy people, okay? Those are competitive people that want a certain look, that need to do a certain thing to win. And fine, if people want to do that to themselves, that's the kind of game that you do in those circles. But it's not a healthy thing, and it can easily distort your view on everything in life. And linking this video to the previous one that I made about validation, if you get validated as a person who's evil, who's sadistic, who lifts a lot of weights, who wins a lot of tournaments, who this becomes this narcissistic, horrible person that likes to hunt and force things upon others. You can get away with that for a short time, but just realize that that's a certain type of delusional behavior approaching, the psychotic, narcissistic point of view. And it could be based on some small innocent things, like just being, having a small success within a small thing in life, like bodybuilding and taking drugs and stuff like that. So overall, it's a bit of a deep subject to go into, but I'm just saying, it's all, yeah, sometimes you have to step out of yourself and look at yourself from a different angle and reevaluate yourself as a human being. Am I doing what I just want to do, or am I doing what's optimal for me as a person, looking forward in time, looking forward at my partner, if my partner would like this, if the group that I'm part of will like this, if my job, if my friends, all of these people will like it. Sometimes we just have to do some self-evaluation on a very high level to fully fully, evolve as human beings. So again, medication, I can't really do much about that. I think that if you do everything else on the list, usually you won't have to need quite as much medication. It's different from person to person. I'm not a professional. I can't talk about that, but that's my experience having worked with a lot of people. Everybody's different, yada, yada, yada. So this is basically my success story and how I notice people around me getting better. And I want to say that it's not easy doing these things. It goes against our human instincts, and our work life wants to beat us down and shape us into a certain way. There is a reason why we are in the situation that we are. We're all basically half screwed. But at least me giving you these tools will to some degree perhaps help you. I know there's some people, I know some colleagues that are in a situation where it can't financially make sense to get their life together to become healthy because they depend on being in the system. It's different from person to person, of course, but life is tough, I feel that if you do a lot of the things that are here, not all of them necessarily, you will just generally just feel a hell of a lot better. And cool trick. Oh, what did I do there? Cool trick. One thing I did recently, these last, I think, 10 years, I've been sleeping in a 5 to 10 degree room instead of these standard 20 to 30 degree rooms that most people have. And it actually improved my sleep a hell of a lot. I can really feel the cell regeneration being a lot better. And just generally, in my house, I keep the temperature around 15 degrees at average. Sometimes it can probably go all the way up to 20. But that's what I do. It keeps me active, keeps me healthy. It prevents me from getting allergies and stuff like that. It prevents me from getting lazy, not wanting to do what I have to do. It forces me to go outside and get some fresh air and exercise and warm myself up. And again, this is a hi-fi channel. You save money on the electrical bill, and I just wear a thicker top on than most people. I don't go around in my t-shirt. I used to do that, like the first half of my life, but doing that makes you stronger, more resistant. When you do all of these things, you go into your natural state of being a half superhuman, half animal that's basically generating its own life force, doing everything natural in a way that we're meant to, So we're sort of reverting back to a state that's more healthy in a modern day world, if that makes any sense. And I think that I noticed this a lot, especially colleagues that I visited. A lot of them, they live in these really crappy homes that are old and moldy, that have roof problems, and there's this sort of wetness that goes on. And I remember looking at several houses back when I had to buy a house. I remember looking at all these houses just thinking, my God, why haven't these houses been ripped down and properly insulated and dealt with, A lot of the brickwork in these houses are wet, and a lot of these roofs are wet, and a lot of the insides are in some kind of way wet. And people are just, living in really hot rooms. kind of compensating for that in a way, but they don't realize that when they do this and they don't air out at the same time, they're actually just warming bacteria up, which again is sort of creating this like airy mold air. And if you're a smoker on top of that, it just makes it even worse. So again, you want an edge in life, air out your entire flat house every day, second day, or at least every third day. That will give you an edge. It will give you more oxygen to your brain. It will give you an edge. Why not take that? And yeah, you might lose a tiny bit of money on having to warm the whole thing up again, but you just do it for like 10 minutes, and that's that. That was a long video, but yeah, I hope that helps you guys. Hopefully this will save a lot of people, and that's the point of it. And I know a lot of people are not gonna be super happy about this message, and yeah, they should just try and look for the stuff that they can be happy about, because I'm the only one who ain't profiting on this message. This is free information, so enjoy if you can, and I hope this improves your tinnitus or whatever problem you're struggling with. And this is me logging out. Have a nice day.